Hi, Tom Bubbly here. This book was incredibly important to me. Write your own fantasy games for your microcomputer. This book basically told me everything I needed to know. When I first read this book, it wasn't even my book. I had it from a friend of mine. I've gone out and I've since bought this book, but it's also available pretty universally on the internet for free download. So if you just put in write your own fantasy games for your microcomputer PDF. I think Usborne Books that put it out will even give you a link to it. So you can download it direct from Usborne or you can download it from Reddit or a bunch of other places. This book was incredibly important to me because it contained basically a connection of all these different things that I'd been doing. It contained connections associated with this stuff, which was creating my own dungeons, Dungeons and Dragons, with creating my own monsters and creating my own worlds out of this stuff. And this told me that I could do it on a computer as well. Now, it's important to note here, these are the listings: Commodore 64 VIC-20, 16K Electron, 48K Spectrum, and a BBC. These were not computers I had access to at the time. I had access to Apple IIs and Macs. So that's what I wrote on, but all the stuff up front was incredibly important because it just explained all the basics. And obviously, as I was a Dungeons and Dragons player, well versed in the various, barbarian, knight, scholar. Here we've got goblins, skeletons, deadly snakes, treasure, magic sword, magician, thief, dwarf. These were all part of my vernacular. It explains what a trading post is, so you can create the weapons. And this was really important for me early on when I was developing my early simulation work because it just fitted everything together. It put together multiple worlds of my own perspective into software, which I thought was incredibly important. So anyway, this was a very important book to me. So I went through a bunch of early programming. This is written, I think, in BASIC. But when I got to program, it was BASIC, Pascal, and then C. It's been C ever since pretty well. So things like compressing binary graphics, this was all very important stuff. So this book just explained it all to me in a very interesting and novel way. Then we get into the code. This is the actual code writing, and I continued to write code books for a large part of my early adolescence, with the view that friends of mine had computers and they could type in the code. I didn't have a computer initially. I just had to do this stuff in my head and on books. This is really interesting stuff. It explained to me basically how to create these kind of games, which have stuck with me forever, or ever since at least. So Tom Barberland, Las Vegas, Nevada. Write your own fantasy games for your microcomputer. Signing out.